Do you know what this is? This is a Mega Bloks Power Rangers microfigure. Now, do you know what this is? This is also a Mega Bloks Power Rangers microfigure. Though, while Mega Bloks had the Power Rangers license for over 15 years, most people don't know that. For a brand that ran for 30 years and garnered a multi-generational fanbase, the Mega Bloks Power Rangers line itself always felt like an afterthought. Whenever new sets released, it always got quickly overlooked at the toy aisle, and even now, there's very little discussion around it. So, let's change that. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Power Rangers Mega Bloks construction line. So, the year is 2002, and for the past 10 years, Mega Bloks had been growing slowly year by year. And by the year 2000, Mega Bloks had established itself as the second biggest construction brand in the world, though in terms of raw numbers, it was unable to compete with the king of construction toys, Lego. But Mega Bloks had a plan. In order to compete with Lego, they were going to need more than just original lines like Alien Agency or Extreme Sports. They were going to need recognizable licenses. At this point, Lego had already acquired the two biggest brands at the time, Star Wars and Harry Potter, with more to come, but Mega Bloks had other tricks under its sleeve. Maybe they couldn't get the hottest brands, but they could get older, proven brands, like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, to compete with Lego. And so, they did. Enter 2003. With the launch of the Disney-era Power Rangers, Mega Bloks released a series of sets based on Power Rangers Ninja Storm. The wave itself was pretty straightforward, with the three main Power Rangers getting their own individual vehicle sets that included a Ranger, a Kelzak Soldier, a sculpted vehicle, and a side build. The flagship set of this wave was the Ninja Academy HQ, that also included the Thunder Rangers and the Green Samurai Ranger, though sadly, Lothor wasn't included in any sets. Additionally, each main Ranger got their own Zord set, though sadly, they couldn't combine to form the Megazord. For that, you needed to buy the additional Megazord set. And personally, this is where I think Mega Bloks fumbled, because what makes construction sets so appealing compared to traditional action figures is the scale and building aspects. This idea that you could take each individual Zord and rebuild it into a Megazord sounds brilliant, though considering that each Zord relied heavily on specialized molds to form the shapes, it would have been too expensive at the time, and so Mega played it safe. For 2004, it was more of the same. Each of the main four Rangers got a figure packs, though there was some variation. Red and blue got Dino Cycles, and black and yellow got Raptor Riders. The only bummer is that there were no enemies included in these sets. And once again, we got 3 individual Zord sets and 1 Megazord set. We also got another Rangers HQ playset, which as a toy looks fantastic. It included a variety of characters and vehicles, though some were also available individually. Though as a playset and starter pack, this was a great package. The highlight of this wave for me is the Brachiozord Command playset. This thing is awesome. It even includes micro versions of each Zord that can get stored onto the Brachiozord itself. And to me, this set showcases what made Mega Bloks different than its competitors at the time. They frankly had great industrial design. While Lego at the time was going through an identity crisis with the minifigure and their design language as a whole, Mega was just really good at making giant, sculpted elements. Though, these elements did lack a versatile use outside of the Power Rangers line, but I'm still going to stand by my point that they look awesome, and even their microfigures that in all honesty look like minifigure clones, at least Mega Bloks tried to innovate, including stuff like arm printing and specialized weapons, something Lego wouldn't start doing till a few years later. My only nitpick for this year's product offerings were the lack of Mesogog and Dino Thunder White, but in reality, the wave showed a lot of promise of what Mega Bloks Power Rangers could be. There was still a lot to improve upon, but judging by the amount of new elements produced for this wave, there was a financial support backing this theme. For 2005, Mega released a wave of sets for Power Rangers SPD, though this would have a major deviation from what had become the standard. We wouldn't get individual sets, Mega opting instead to release these Ranger heads that included either a brick-built vehicle or a station of sorts. Strangely, this year we didn't get any Megazord, and the only Zords we got were brick built instead of relying on specialized molds. The only standout set of this wave for me has to be the new HQ playset, with again, fantastic character offerings. This set including SPD Omega and the Shadow Ranger. Though for me, the most obvious change was the fact they only made male Rangers this time around. Famously, female characters sell poorly in boy action figure lines, and well, yeah, this seems to back that up, which is a bummer since that meant the SPD team would never be completed. Mega also released buildable figures for the Shadow Ranger, SPD Red, and SPD Blue. And these figures use the same joint system Mega Bloks used for the Megazords in the past, making it overall a pretty decent product, though the parallels to Bionicle were evident. For 2006, we sadly didn't get any more Power Ranger sets since Mega Bloks had already acquired the Marvel license a year earlier, and Power Rangers had been struggling at shelves. It just didn't make sense anymore. Both lines demanded a lot of specialized molds, and simply, Marvel was a bigger brand, which sucks cause one of my favorite seasons is Mystic Force, and based on the swords for this season, I think Mega Bloks would have done a great job with Mystic Force. But I also understand that the line wasn't making its money back, so Mega moved in another direction. It wouldn't be till 2011, once Saban bought PR and relaunched the franchise at Nickelodeon, that Mega would bring back the IP. But why did they bring it back? Well, it's cause they kinda needed it. Like we talked about in the Skylanders video, at the time Mega Bloks was recovering from a financial crisis and had also lost the Marvel license to Lego. So they were looking for big IPs that could help them come out of financial struggle. Enter Power Rangers Samurai. And how did Mega Bloks Power Rangers fare the second time around? Well, with Mega Bloks' life on the line, they played it safe. They introduced a blind bag series for their new microfigures, and while I respect the effort put into these, again, they just look like Lego clones, and arguably much more hideous Lego clones. Which is a bummer since, at this point, Mega Bloks was kinda coming into its own with their micro action figures that were less stylized but more articulated and accurate to the content. It just sucks that for Power Rangers, they resorted back into copying its competitors, though the justification for doing so was that they wanted the Rangers to be modular characters with different helmets and armors to go alongside the basic figures. But as an adult, I would have preferred Rangers more in the same style of what Mega Bloks was doing with Halo. The first wave itself consisted of 3 Zords that, once again, couldn't combine to form a Megazord. But they did have alternate builds though. We also got an individual Red Ranger vehicle that, once again, was all about rebuilding it into 4 alt builds. Though I'll argue the alt builds themselves weren't that appealing. And finally, the flagship set of the wave was the Megazord, that also had 3-in-1 builds. Though even as a kid, the alt builds always looked like hideous monstrosities no human should ever put together. A few months later, in 2012, Mega Bloks continued the line with more Power Ranger sets, but now based on Power Rangers Super Samurai. And these product offerings were a huge step up in some ways. The human faces were still awful, but the effort was respectable. Mega also launched an affordable Power Ranger hero packs that recreated the Megazord cockpits, and fantasy racing cars called Pocket Racers. We also got 2 new Zords, the Gold Claw Zord and the Green Bear Zord. Evidently, they never released a Pink Zord because, well, pink. And additionally, they also released multi-character packs with 2 heroes and 2 villains, alongside another blind bag series. Out of this wave, the 2 standout sets for me are the Claw Battle Zord vs. Mauger, a set that recreates the Megazord sequences from the show with a scaled down city skyline and a minifigure version of the Claw Battle Zord. The other highlight was the Samurai HQ Battle, a genuinely good playset that accurately depicts the Power Rangers Samurai HQ and even includes the main villain of the show. So, actually, great job, Mega. For 2013, Mega Bloks seemed to listen and actually change their entire design language for Power Rangers Megaforce, redesigning their microfigures into micro-action figures that, while not as good as the Halo figures, still a better offering than this. The only downside to this change was that now every detail was printed onto the characters instead of sculpted details like the samurai line. Outside of that change, the products themselves were more the same. A blind back series, pocket racers, non-transforming Zords, and a 3-in-1 Megazord with some hideous alt builds. The standout of this wave has to be the Mighty Morphin Anniversary Pack, though their new printed design language left a lot to be desired, especially with the Green Ranger and the Dragon Shield. For 2014, with Super Mega Force, the cards were set. Mega Bloks could have gone all out and made some genuinely amazing Power Rangers construction toys, and to a point, they did. With the main gimmick of the season being that the Rangers could transform into past teams. And this could have been a great opportunity to expand the line and appeal to legacy fans that maybe don't like Megaforce but want older characters and would maybe be inclined to buy Mega Bloks Power Rangers. And in reality, we did get some fan favorite characters like Time Force Red, Turbo Red, In Space Red, Samurai Red, RPM Red, Wild Force Red, and yeah, you kind of see the pattern here. Most of the Legacy Rangers Mega Bloks brought back were all Red Rangers, which very much sucked. Since throughout Super Mega Force, we see a lot more than just Red Rangers, but I digress. I think the wave itself was pretty just weak, relying heavily on air gliders, non-transforming Zords, but to this point, you'd kind of come to expect that. My main problem with this wave were the changes they did to the Megazords, which were now highly scaled down, significantly worse than the previous year's Megazord, implying the theme was kind of running out of steam. In 2014, Mattel also bought Mega Bloks, which signaled a wave of canceled products, with Power Rangers being one of the lines that got canceled. Come Dino Charge, we didn't get any more Mega Bloks Power Rangers sets. In America? Yeah, apparently all this time, Mega Bloks had been releasing Super Sentai Mega Bloks sets in Japan. Heck, even when Mega Bloks canceled Mystic Force and Operation Overdrive sets worldwide, Japan got exclusive sets. Though I couldn't really find more images, these blurry pics were all I could find. Finally, in 2017, Mega Bloks, now Mega Constructs, released another wave of Power Ranger sets. These now entirely based on Mighty Morphin, and honestly, this was a huge missed opportunity. With 2017 being a movie year for the brand, it's such a weird decision that Mega decided to release Mighty Morphin Power Ranger playsets instead of products based on the Power Rangers film, considering children born in this era aren't familiar with this iteration of PR. It made more sense to make tie-in product for the film, or why didn't Mega just make collector-focused products? Especially considering that just a year earlier, with the TMNT line, Mega released multiple sub-themes in the line with sets based on the movie, the comics, the 80s cartoon, and the 2012 show. Considering they had the molds for Power Rangers already done, it would have been much easier to make sets based on the 2017 film for kids, and collector sets for MMPR. But instead, they opted to make a kid-friendly line that overall was more of the same. Non-transforming Zords that excluded the Pink Ranger, and a non-transforming Megazord. And not surprisingly, this is how the Mega Bloks Power Ranger line ends, with a forgettable MMPR wave. Kinda reminds me of another Power Rangers toy line. Overall, the Mega Bloks Power Rangers line on paper lasted for 15 years, but really, we only got 8 years of products that were very scattered around, with some years having strong offerings and others feeling like rushed attempts to simply have products on shelves. I also feel like these sets never really had a fair shot. For the most part, distribution was limited, and head-to-head, if a child had to choose between the Bandai toys or the Mega Bloks sets, the Bandai toys were simply better. At the time, for $30, you could get a $30 Megazord that could transform, or a $30 Megazord that couldn't transform. It's a similar situation Mega Bloks found itself in with Skylanders, where they weren't just competing with Lego on shelves, they were also competing with the master license holder and losing both battles. And as a longtime Power Rangers fan, it kind of frustrates me because in my head, Power Rangers can work in the construction world, but it just didn't because of the direction Mega Bloks chose to follow. They focused more on selling the characters and making the sets affordable, which is a valid strategy, but I personally believe it was the wrong strategy. Power Rangers should have been about the vehicles and monsters, with each Zord having alternate builds that allows it to combine to form a Megazord, and a bigger emphasis on the threats the Rangers must face, since for the most part Mega Bloks sets always lacked any significant villains. Putting it into a play perspective, what type of narrative can the kids create while playing with these sets when there aren't any threats? Anyways, this wasn't the end for Power Rangers in brick form. Around 2021, these started showing up at stores like Five Below by a brand called Forever Clever, with a retail price of $5. And they weren't terrible, but they weren't good enough to shake off the LEGO knockoff tag. And recently, they also released a wave of Zords from MMPR, and I mean, for $5, these are pretty good. Not the best thing in the world, but I've definitely seen much worse. And they also released a Megazord and Dragon Zord, which, yeah, these leave a lot to be desired, but you know, with the budget of these, the effort is respectable. And well, that's where we currently stand. With the way Hasbro has been treating Power Rangers, I doubt we'll ever get another construction line, and if we do, it will definitely be based on MMPR. But you know, it is what it is. I actually wouldn't mind if a company like LEGO makes an 18 plus MMPR Megazord. Recently, with Ninjago, they've been hovering around the concept a lot, and even the most recent Ninjago wave has a combiner mech that has an eerily similar tank mode to the MMPR Megazord. But I just don't think LEGO is interested in covering the IP right now. Hopefully, in the future, another construction brand can take over and finally bring justice to Power Rangers. But hey, that's just my brick opinion. Thanks for watching and take care.